Great. Okay, welcome everyone to the finals of the Winter Derby, the Skype Winter Derby. I'm joined by the godfather of old school, Magnus Delaval. We're here to showcase the finals between two amazing players. The first is Brother of Fire, Richard Stebbing from the UK, who is on a pretty standard blue-red burn deck, and versus Michael Scheffenecker of the U.S. from the greater Philadelphia area, I believe, who was on a pretty standard-ish ATOG deck, but with a couple of extra spicy cards, but generally a pretty archetypal deck. So it looks like a pretty awesome matchup. We're not exactly sure how it's going to play out, and I'm pretty excited to watch. Are you, Magnus?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup to see, especially the post-board games. I think will be crazy. It could be that people are trying to, board out all the creatures from your burn deck, and it could be a lightning bolt match. And factories could actually play a big factor here as well. And I think it's going to be really exciting, and it's so cool to see those two guys. Also, I've met brother Stebo a few times, but I haven't met Michael yet. And really good people, and it's really cool to see them rise, to the top in this 142-player tournament.
Yeah, it really is. There's so much at play here. There's kind of a minor U.S. versus Europe angle here. There's blue-red burn versus ATOG burn, which is kind of something that I've been a big proponent of over the last year, kind of on the ATOG side of the coin. So it's interesting to see these two lists in the finals.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also like the self-proclaimed Spike, right, in Michael, and the casual brother in Stebo.
Yeah, exactly. That's just another great angle for this matchup. There's so much going on. I also know both of these guys are very excited. They don't have invites right now, and they both really want the invite. So this is not like your father's casual little old school game. I mean, I'm sure it will still be cordial and nice, but these guys really are incentivized to win this at the end of the day. They both are really dying for that invite.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. So we'll meet at least one of those guys in Gothenburg in just a little over 2 months, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a little over. I can't believe how close it is. It feels like just yesterday I was watching the stream, watching you and Gordon on stream, and kind of crying a little bit to myself that I wasn't there, and now we're 2 months away. Time flies.
Yeah, really. So how do you think you have the upper hand in game one here?
So the first two unsideboarded games, it's close. I think Su-Chi and ATOG, the creatures are really big in this matchup.
Yeah.
Like both of those, an unanswered ATOG can just be game, right? Because he only has burn to blow it out. City in a Bottle. So Michael plays one main deck City in a Bottle in his ATOG list, which is also a huge deal against Richard's suite of 8 Arabian creatures. The Ankhs are a little medium in an aggro mirror, so that's kind of where he loses a little bit of value. The Vices can also be medium, although I guess Richard has counter spells and not all 5 Moxes, so they could do a little bit of work. My guess is game one, or the unsideboarded games, I think I think Michael was a little bit favored.
Yeah, I think I would agree there, because both his places of creatures will survive the bolt or the chain.
I watched the stream of it last
year,
all right, gentlemen, I think we're all set here.
And only the Afrits on the other side.
Whenever you'd like to start.
But on the other hand, I mean, like he Stebo plays 3 glass and 2 main deck shatters,
and I guess I'll cut
which is
Okay, cool.
more than the usual one that's common to see in your domain. So
well, best of luck.
So it's by no means a done deal, I think.
Oh, not even close. But that's a good point, that his slightly non-traditional setup with the 2 main deck shatters are going to be huge against these Su-Chis.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing that's happening in this matchup.
I also want to mention that Stebo actually only has 3 main deck answers to Library of Alexandria in Demonic Tutor, Chaos Orb, and the Strip Mine, where Michael has 8, I think.
Well, if you count devices, I guess devices are pretty much an answer in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have an active library under a Vice in a Bolt Mirror.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And he also, he has the main deck bot. Like, basically, this whole thing is going to be about Bottle. Every tutor, I think, or not every tutor, but most tutors are going to go for Bottle if Chef draws one, even over Ancestral, unless he's able to just totally spew his hand and needs a refill. But he's going to be tutoring for Bottle a lot in these first 2 games, I would imagine.
It's also interesting that one of the best cards in UR Burn, or what they usually say is like the best power card in UR Burn, is the Time Twister, right? And Time Twister is kind of bad against a hand that has a curve that mostly stops on 2 and plays 7 bolts.
Okay.
And 4 vices.
Yeah. So
Speaking of which, Michael won the die roll. He mulliganed to 6 and led on City into Vice. Basically the perfect start. He probably would have preferred to not have a City,
17,
but
yeah. So,
like leading Vice on the play is arguably his best play.
alright, draw for them.
agree. So let's see what we can have for follow-up here. I mean, right now, if he kept just a library hand, I mean, that's game, right?
It's
So-
just game over, right?
Yeah.
It smells like maybe he did, given how slow he's playing his land here.
Yeah.
I go for volcanic. And
So do you Chain Lightning right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to. Yeah,
16?
that's right. Yeah.
Before I played, that was one of the
That's another interesting thing about these matchups is that getting these chains off in situations where they can't chain back is also kind of a big deal.
Yes, definitely.
So that's a perfect. I think you have to chain there. Volcanic chain. I'd be very surprised if there was any other play you could do.
So here comes the Anka.
Go.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is a great start. Like leading Vice and Ankh. This is a situation where Ankh you can break the symmetry, obviously.
6, so go to 15.
And as you
well.
mentioned before, I mean, the brother Stebo only has the on-color Moxum.
Getting the life out.
So
Getting used to that double link. Okay.
his ideal draw here, I guess, would be
okay.
something like Soul Ring
Okay.
into
2 or 5.
and Flagman.
So you
Yep.
were both at 15, I think, right?
I feel like if he doesn't have a Mox here or a Soul Ring, or I guess or a Lotus, but one of his 5 pieces, this game might just be over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the power of turn 1 Vice into turn 2 Ankh. Is that a beta volcanic on his side? Does he have beta dual
Yeah.
lands? That's a beautiful card.
Yes, I think both sides have places of beta volcanics, I think.
Yeah, I think I was going to say the same thing. They both have beta volcanics. Wow.
And the only white bordered cards in both their decks combined is actually that Brother Stebo only has an unlimited Black Lotus. But other than that,
We go for a Mishra's Factory.
there's a lot
So
of
30.
black bordered glory going on around here.
Right, and no foreign black border. There's tons of alpha. All gorgeous alpha and beta cards. Wow, Stebo's deck is
And I'll pass that.
tons of alpha in it.
Yeah.
Almost every card is alpha.
Yeah, like
Except for-
everything.
I'll take 1 and I'll chain lightning you.
What did he
Who?
just play? Is that
You have how many
was that a
cards in
chain?
hand?
Can't
Yeah,
see.
chain.
3?
Yeah, so we just chained him while he could. Yeah, so Stebo went factory go,
Guess
basically the worst possible scenario for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that resolves
Scheffenecker
all
chains him down to I think 13 with a Vice out, which he's not under yet,
pass through.
and an Ankh can play. This game,
Okay,
This game's
and,
basically
we're
over.
going
He
to
did choose
shatter
from
the
the Anchor.
Mishra.
So.
Sure.
okay,
his shatters.
end of turn shatter. That's big game.
Okay. Just think about this for a minute.
I mean, the hard thing also, I think you have to there, right? Because you have to destroy the Ankh at that point because you only have 2 lands and you need. I mean, as you play a lot of counter spells, you need quite a few lands to operate, even though all your threats are 1 or 3 drops.
Yeah, well, and it also gets you a card under the Vice, right? So now he probably only had 5 cards in hand. So that's
Yeah.
that's
But the thing is that, I mean, that also turns off some of your restricted cards.
Vice in response to the Vice trigger, I'm going to bolt you.
11.
right.
Or wheel or these kind of things, or
That's
ancestral.
true.
Okay, so
Yeah, there's a little
4
there's a little
cards in
push
hand,
pull there,
4
but I do
Vice.
think the Ankh is the
Okay.
play at this point, unless he knows he has like Lotus Twister or something.
Yeah.
It looks like he upkeep bolted with the Vice trigger on the stack to get under. So it
Nice.
probably meant he had 5 cards and went down to 4
made a
cards.
second
Yeah.
factory,
Oh, that's nice.
and then attack for 2.
That's a very good play.
Yeah, attack for 2.
9.
Fully tapped out. And Chef is a
And
little bit
Bossy.
mana
Nine.
starved here.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he's able to do this turn.
So that city has lightning bolted him, right? Yeah.
And now his other red source is another city. This could be the difference in the game.
Yeah.
I'll chain lightning.
And also, I mean, this means that
So you go to 8, I go
if
to
Brother
7.
Stebo here resolves Surrender Befreed next turn,
Pass.
then
You
City in a
have 2
Bottle
cards, right?
doesn't look that
Yep.
attractive anymore.
Yep.
4 cards
So,
for the sake of
Chef chains Stebo down to 7.
Yep.
And I can't see Chef's life total. What is it like?
9, I think.
Oh, it's
Sounds
9
tough.
already?
Yeah.
Oh, because of the 2 bolts. Yeah.
8. Yeah, 8. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Oh, so
because
then
of the
this is,
chain. Yeah, I didn't count the chain. Sorry.
Make a strip mine.
So that shatter, this was all about that shatter.
And yeah, attack for 4.
Yep. So
So
now it's
down 4.
Plus D.
So Chef has to draw something like, I don't know, like a
Get this game.
wheel into, yeah, he doesn't have it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, Mox into sushi would have sufficed. No, it wouldn't, because he would have died for 1. Yeah.
Because he would have taken 2 from the
from the
cities.
other-
Yeah, so basically that game was about 2 things.
This is another game 1.
Lisa Brass did like 6 damage to him, and
I
that
guess I
shatter
didn't play.
was that end of turn shatter was so clutch.
Yeah, I mean and of course the bolts. I mean, but I mean, like that's the ideal start, right? On the play, you play Black Vice. Opponent doesn't have any power to power it out and takes 3, and then on your turn you play your Ankh of Mishra and let the opponent be stuck under Mishra and Vice. So I mean that's how you want to do it, but then you want. Okay.
Our voices, okay.
Is it? Yeah, I hear Mano very well.
I can hear Magnus. I've heard every word. Yeah, so that's I agree with what you said. So he basically he had the not quite the nut. He had basically how he drew it up his perfect start, right? First turn Vice and his second turn Ankh, and still lost. So
yeah, and you saw that he was perhaps in some sort of when he played his Ankh of a Mox, because I guess you want to play and then play the Ankh and then play the Mox.
Yeah, he probably kept a mildly landlight hand on the strength of that combo.
Yeah,
and ended gassing himself to death. Like I think that I think an ATOG there completely changes. Plays it in 3 ATOG. That's probably just game over.
Yeah, I mean then you can't attack with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Present. Cut.
Yep.
I'll play.
Yep.
Set. I'll play.
Hello.
I'll keep.
Nice, but I think am I on the old call still as well?
Hey guys, hang on 1 second before you start.
Okay.
We're restarting the commentary call. The commentary call. Check.
Do.
Yeah, I guess I can keep these.
Okay.
So we.
Yeah, I'm actually taking the call through my phone now.
Okay, go ahead,
So-
guys. Thanks for waiting.
No problem.
Hello.
Is my audio okay? Because it's different than it was.
Yep.
Okay.
And mine.
So go to 17. Draw for the 10.
Nice. Okay, so we have 2 games where we do without sideboard first. So we have first round player of another Black Vice, which is good, but at this point, Stebo has the alpha Mox Jet to run under it a little quicker.
Yeah, that's very important there. But Chef led Factory though, so that's probably not, or maybe that is what he wanted to lead with because he wanted to. Stebo might like throw a chain at him. He can attack with his Factory on turn 2.
Damage is always 2 damage, right?
Mm,
So this means that if Stebo plays a turn 1 like Flying Man,
yeah. Islands.
then Michael will still be in the as he did.
So you have how many cards in here?
Then Michael will be in the race now for 2 more damage, and those add up.
Yeah, every Factory hit is almost a card in this matchup. So just as you drew it up, he led Flying Man and a Vice to get it down to, what is he down to, 5 cards? So I assume this Factory is very likely going to hit. I don't even know.
Do you bolt the Flying Man though? I think you hit here, but I'm not really
I'll
sure. If you have a Chain Lightning, you may do it. Not Lightning Bolt. Okay, yeah. That's why he's in the finals, and not perhaps. Yeah, but he still used all his mana, and this is a very important.
Yep.
Because this is kind of,
And you've got
especially from the attack side, and if he can use
you see you've got 3 in hand.
all his, he's good.
Okay.
The play is fine. He could have used all of his mana to attack as well and just save the bolt. I don't know if he wants to spend 2 mana to trade 2 for 1. Maybe it's not. It's close.
Yeah.
So what's Stebbing's ideal play here? Probably just
Surrender.
Just to,
And go for
Yes.
Volcanic Island and Chain Lightning for you.
Chain you. Yeah.
right. So
17.
chain lightning to get him fully under the vices now.
And 4 cards, I'll pass back.
So I think it's
Stebbing-
nice to lead it with the. Sorry.
Last, he must have mulliganed, right? Oh no, never mind. Because Chef and Acker didn't attack with the Factory.
Yeah.
All's good. We're all good.
Yeah, 13.
Pass.
Stebo led with the island
So 4 cards.
rather
so
than volcanic,
No Vice.
which is a nice play to get around the possibility of an early strip mine.
Yeah, I feel like it's rarely
Yeah,
correct
Factory
to early strip
and
in
pass
this
it.
matchup. You need to save it for library or Factory or something that really matters. But again, I'm not in the finals. These guys are. I just know I almost never consider a first turn strip in Swedish. But I've been first turn stripped many a time in this tournament. So maybe I'm just the one doing it.
I mean, it depends on what your hand looks like. Because he started with Black Vice, right? Which means that a first turn strip
Just thinking.
can actually wreck your game plan.
Right,
quite a bit.
right. That's true. We're
Go
not
for it.
talking in a vacuum here, right? He already knew he had a vice.
Yeah.
Sushi.
Oh, there he comes.
Sure.
That's a very big play.
Okay,
Wow,
3
fat-
cards in hand, so no Vice.
Shop into sushi.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Draw for the turn.
Baiting the Atog.
13. Basically, he's leaning hard on a shot here. I guess the side.
I'm losing a little bit right now, Manu. I'm not sure if something's happening.
You're losing me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better.
I'll just hold the phone closer to me. So what's Stebo looking to do here? He needs to answer that Suchi.
Yeah.
He
He's
needs a
looking
shatter.
for. Yeah, he needs a shatter, right?
Yeah, shatter or side blast. Like shatter's the
You have how many cards in hand?
dream, of course. It feels like
1.
he probably doesn't have it
One.
because
Am I getting twisted?
Wasn't quite what I was thinking.
So someone is typing aggressively, but maybe it's only me that hear it. Let's see. Open.
I think it's I think
Yeah.
it's just Marcus. So Stebo, I have noted I watched a couple of Stebo's other matches, and he's very patient. He
Yeah.
takes his time, make sure he thinks everything through. He's clearly doing the same thing right now, thinking about all of his lines and making sure he doesn't do something stupid.
It's
I like it. His pace is good. Feels like not too slow, but yet he's clearly thinking about everything. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a guy who played against
Okay, I'll go for,
Olorada
Volcanic Island.
who came to the
And I'll
finals
pass
of
them.
last year's NuCon with SU or Burn,
3.
and he had played him. I think it was in the quarterfinals or it was the last round before the cut, and he was like, I don't understand how that guy can play so well. He was like sitting with 5-man up or something and 2 randoms in hand, and was still waiting out because he knew he would win with whatever like flying man was on his board, and he didn't want to tap out to not have double counter
Go
spell,
for a
and that
side
made him
last
win the
on
match.
Suchi.
I mean, it's just so crazy to
Okay.
see
Just think I'm talking about
because I think that your burn is mostly a linear
like
deck,
this.
and I don't really
Yeah.
like to play it
So I go
like
to
stacks in vintage or something. But when you get to those kind of decision trees that you do in these kind of matchup, where we have like 2 really good players in the finals of a 142 player game, and you need to think about the matchup that is as close as this, then you really see,
Okay.
how the patience pays off, or how a strong player like
You have 1 card now.
Stebo here
2.
gets the upper hand. In that way.
Yeah,
individuals
you
Good.
notice that a
from
lot.
ancestral.
You notice that a lot with factories. Oh wow, that's a big play.
Yeah.
In general, with just not attacking factories in open mana and just waiting your opponent out.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so basically,
Okay,
Stebbing did have it. He didn't have his dream card, but he had the Side Blast, which was his second best
So
card there,
4 cards,
and he
so no,
followed it up with an
and damage of Vice,
Ancestral,
draw for
putting him
10.
way in the driver's seat here. I don't even know if he's taking Vice damage after the Ancestral. I don't think he is. So he's on 5 cards now after his draw.
Yeah.
He has a factory and 4 other lands in play. I guess the ATOG is a problem, though. What's he at? 11?
Yeah. And
the ATOG represents at least 7 right now.
And there should be at least, let me see. So there's 1 lightning bolt in his graveyard, right? Which means that he has
ATOG?
8 burn spells left, if we count the earthquake and the fireball.
Yep. So Stebbing Chain Lightning is the Tog on his obviously on his turn because it's a sorcery to get rid of one of the artifacts. It'd be very clutch here to have another bolt of some sort to basically force him to sack both of his other artifacts or the Tog. It looks like he doesn't have it because it's just a clear play here.
And I think that's a really good play because right now we're in a, not really a standoff, but kind of. Because he can attack for 5 with that, but what does that really matter? But at that point, if Michael would have drawn either Demonic Tutor or Time Twister or Wheel with the double Vice out and 8 more direct damage spells in his deck, that would have been game. So he needs to remove at least one of the Vices, just not to auto-lost one of those 3 cards.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's very clear. Michael's on 1 card. The ATOG feels like his last effort. He's leaning pretty hard into drawing some kind of a draw 7 or ancestral of his own at this point. And given the Tog, it just isn't that big anymore. And now Stebo has 2 blockers.
So I mean, it actually could have been, because he has 2 factories now. Yeah, that makes sense. So at this point, if you would have another bolt here, would you sacrifice the factory or the Vice?
Well, you would have to sacrifice 2 things, so I think you have to just let the ATOG go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, of course.
So that's why the second bolt would have been huge because it basically kills the ATOG or blows up his board. So and I think having a vanilla 1/2 ATOG out here at this point is basically irrelevant. You're leaning on your mana and your Vice to hopefully draw you into a draw 7.
Yeah, I mean, like,
that can't be.
ATOG is a moat, right?
It is, but so that's weird. He blasted the Tog. He didn't lead with the blast first. If you lead with the blast, it forces him to sacrifice 2 artifacts off the bat. It's almost like he wanted him to sacrifice that Vice.
Yeah, because I don't think he sacrificed 2.
You don't, right? So if he leads with Side Blast on ATOG, ATOG's just dead. Yeah, the Chain Lightning, right?
That's really well played. And these are the kind of plays that, you see that, okay, so that's masterful because, that if we would have 2 Black Vices, then the draw 7s from both sides would be so much worse.
Yep.
So now he does the attack with 1 card in hand, and Steb was thinking, like, is it worth to sacrifice this one to the bolt? Because he can pump it twice. So he offers a trade here if he has the bolt. Right? I
mean, he clearly has the bolt, right? You can't bluff this attack.
You could, but
I mean, maybe he's drawing that dead. But even so, like, who cares? Stebo trades a factory for a bolt. It's not the end of the world. This is a trade. It's just he's 100% to block, right? So you can't,
Yeah.
you just can't.
Okay.
So did
Well,
he bolt
make it-
before or after declare blockers?
3-3.
I think he bolted
Yep.
before
And
blockers.
then
Is this
Yeah.
this doesn't make
Then
sense?
it just throws away the
Yep.
bolt, right?
So you take.
Oh, so he saved the factory.
Yeah,
So he's going to
go
take
seven.
two. He tapped the
Yeah.
factory to pump itself, and he tapped the other factory to pump it again to save it and go
Yeah.
to 7.
You have 1 card, yeah.
That's a pretty reasonable play. 7's a lot better than 6, so I think that feels like the right play.
And you take out the bolt, so. And as you say, I mean, 7 is a lot better than 6 in this kind of matchup.
Yeah, a little bit less good than it would be, given we live in Psyblast world here. But
Yeah, but
still, 1. I think he plays 3
Make a
main
land
deck
for the same.
Psyblast. So
yeah, you
it's
mean
not like-
Richard? Yeah.
Animate the factory and attack for 2.
But that
No
can.
So
When it
15.
happens, it happens. I mean,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
he's not
I'll
going to
bust you.
waste the Psyblast unless there comes a sushi or something.
So he goes on the offensive a little bit. He feels like
How many cards?
Chef is out of bolts,
1.
which he likely is. He spent 2. So he's willing to take, get in for 2 free damage while he could. Oh, Demonic Tutor.
That's
That's
big.
so what do you get here? You get
Twister.
Ancestral or +7
Twister.
because say again?
Twister, I think, because you have 4 bolts in your graveyard right now, and if you do a Twister, you will probably draw perhaps at least 1 bolt, and
Well, I
then you
think-
will deal some damage with the Vice. It would be a clear Twister if he were tapped out, Stebo.
That's what I mean. So it's Twister is very clearly the better card here.
Yeah.
I just don't know if giving him another chance to draw into a counter spell is worth it. It probably is because Twister turns on his Vice. It does so much.
Yeah.
But I guess it's only if the counter spell's on top of his deck, right? If he has 1 in hand, he can counter the Ancestral. He can counter it either way.
Yeah.
So really, it's just if counter spells on top of his deck, which is probably a risk worth taking. So you have to get Twister.
Yeah. I think that's correct. You could go for sushi because then you can cast it the same turn and it will trade with at least 1 factory. You could also go for Black Vice if you suspect that he has a counter and you can kill 1 of the factories. But I'm not really sure. But I think I would probably go for Twister.
I mean, I'm sure in his mind he's thinking it's Twister or Ancestral, and the only reason it would be Ancestral is to play around a counter spell.
Play Lotus.
But he's fully
Yeah.
fully tapped. So
Instead of Black Lettuce.
Play Twister.
Yeah.
so
Twister.
we add it this turn.
Okay.
So if this is not a counter spell, this looks pretty good for Chef. Okay, so we did not have a counter spell. So he had Lotus. Given he had Lotus, that's the most obvious Twister.
like, do I go for
There's no other
Twister or
play there given he
Ancestral?
had Lotus.
No.
He still
And-
has his drop to make.
I don't know.
He has the Vice in play.
You could argue for Wheel, I guess, but he had more bolts in his graveyard than Stebo.
Everyone
So
got a highlight.
Yeah, I
if you
think-
had a zero bolts in the graveyard and
I
Stebo would
think
have like
that's
3 or 4, I mean, then you go for the wheel. But
That's a really good point. There are situations where I've been playing these ATOG decks where I've done that exact thing. But at this point, he just wants to draw mono burn at this point, right? So given he had
Yeah.
2 bolts and maybe a chain in his 6-card graveyard, it's a no-brainer to get the Time Twister.
so the question is now: do you just pass the turn even if you draw bolts? I think
That's what I was
yes.
just thinking too. I don't think you do anything here. Don't let him play counterspell under that Vice. Force him to have it shatter, basically.
Yeah. And if he plays a lightning bolt or something, then maybe you can respond to it with your own. But
Yeah.
um,
Your turn.
Yep.
Play Mox.
I don't think you can play a real spell here. You definitely can't play a Chain Lightning because he can just throw it at you.
yeah, but at this point he has 7 mana though, so I mean he could read out 4. Yeah, I think that's okay. And he can follow
only-
up with sushi or something if he wants.
Yeah, the only question is just do you play around counterspell here, which I mean if this Ox survives, this Ox is specified, right? If Ox survives, then he clearly doesn't have a counterspell.
Yeah.
This looks
I mean, Ank I think could get to resolve if
Thinking about that.
if you would have like
Okay.
5 mana up and play an Ank, after a wheel, I think I would let it resolve because I still have access to how much is it? 9 mana, so I don't need to play anything more. But if you play a
No,
sushi,
I agree. I agree in general, but like given the vice, I think he would basically counter anything at this point, given the vice. Literally any spell. Unless he has shatter, obviously.
yeah, or he may have shatter two if he had 2 bolts in his hand or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Because he has all these instants. You're right. So even if he doesn't have the shatter, he could still have a bolt and a side blast or 2 bolts or something.
Okay, that resolves.
And there comes the last thing. Vice,
Oh.
that one you counter. If you have the counter, then you counter. I think you even draw with
You've got
library of that one.
2 left.
If you don't have a
Yeah,
counter.
yeah, exactly.
1 in hand. Okay.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Or that, because I mean that's
Okay.
that's just
Just
That's
thinking
his game,
about
right?
that one.
it goes down to
Yeah, that's-
1.
Okay, I'm gonna.
That's basically. I mean, it feels
Yeah,
like he
I
has.
mean, yeah, you
Oh,
draw a
drawing
card
off
there.
library. That's game.
Yeah,
On the stack.
hoping to find the
Unless
counter
he
spell.
draws counterspell, right? He's still he's still in deep trouble regardless. He's probably 2% to win.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't have a counter spell or instance now, he just dies because it takes 8. Nice.
Looks like he drew a counterspell.
Or
Maybe
shatter.
Go for a counterspell.
Counter spell. Nice.
drew that.
Lands on top.
That's
I've
playing.
got
That's
islands,
playing for the
factory,
on the odds. I mean,
And the soul ring up.
that's good.
Yeah, I mean you're dead otherwise, right? So you're
Yeah.
free rolling library draw, so you might as well do that.
So by is counterspell. Okay.
Okay, so now he's up at 7 cards. The only thing he could do, he could end of turn Side Blast to get down a card. That's a little dangerous. Oh god.
Okay.
Oh, he's gonna
But
cast.
then he dies, right? Because no, he's on 5 and takes 4. Yeah, he goes to 1.
He wouldn't die. He wouldn't be in a great spot.
Yeah.
Ah.
True.
Oh, and he misses an orb flip on something. I don't know what he was targeting. What do you think he targeted there?
Your turn.
I'm not sure. Factory,
I'm not
perhaps, because
Probably.
Okay.
then he
Yeah.
will because he has 2 factories, so he will remove 1 blocker. So he will have the attack advantage. You know,
For those of you watching at home and are like a little bit going, "Oh my gosh, look at what Chef did off of this this Time Twister." This is what these ATOG
Yeah, I'm
decks
gonna
are. They're
side blast
basically
you
Time
and
Twister decks. They just spew all their stuff,
5.
flood the board with their damage dealing artifacts and their bolts and their guys, and then Time Twister and do it all over again. And
Yeah.
the Demonic Twister is almost always for Time Twister. That's what they do. So this is kind of par for the course. He probably got a mildly lucky draw off of the Twister, but this is like
and it's the same with the Stebbings deck. That the best power card in that deck is Time Twister.
yeah, it's just less explosive though, right? He has the counter spells. He has 2 less moxes. He just can't explode quite as well as the ATOG decks can.
Situation.
I mean, that depends on how you. I agree, but you still have 8 bolts. The other deck only have 7, only 7,
Yeah, in
and you
response
have
to
the 4 flying
what's
men.
happening, I'm gonna
And you can easily empty your hand,
8.
and then start twisting.
and
Yeah.
then
I mean, it
one
clearly is
sort of 5 in hand
is
now,
a
so
similar
take
strategy that both decks are trying to do. I just think the ATAC does it slightly better, but it's like
Yeah,
it's
I
pretty
can
close.
agree with that.
Turn.
By the way, regarding the Chaos Orb myths, I actually managed to get my hands on the first playtest version of Chaos Orb just the other day. I've been looking for it for 3 years or so, and it's the one that were made before the white playtest cards. Because before those were made, they had a group just in the University of Pennsylvania that played, and I know that they had playtest cards, but I didn't know if a Chaos Orb existed. And I heard whispers that it did, and I managed to get a hand of one of those playtesters, and he could actually find that orb, and it's orange. But the fun thing with that one is that it doesn't flip at all. So you don't miss a flip with that Chaos Orb, because the first version of Chaos Orb doesn't flip. It just says destroy target permanent.
Yeah, if you're missing from a straight drop, it might be smaller. It's probably smaller than a regular orb, though, right? How big is it?
Yeah. I mean, the playtest version that is up on Librarities and the one that most people know about, it says flip from 6 inches and 180 degrees. But there was a version before that one, which is orange, that only says destroy target permanent.
So you have 4 cards now?
Yeah, that's I didn't even know that card existed. What is it called on the PlayStation?
It's called Sphere of Annihilation, like the Ulm. But I mean, I only heard rumors about it for 4 years or something, and there's no picture of it on the internet yet. So it's still not on Librarities. It's that kind of rare.
That's not
so
even on Librarians, and you're getting your hands on one.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I
That's
think
real.
I'm getting hands on the one actually. I only think
The
there is
one
one.
might only be one.
Sorry.
There might only be one in the world.
Yeah, I think there is only one. It could be two.
Jesus Christ. Are you going to have it at NoobCon? Can I see it in person?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, crap.
Sebos actually managed to play around this with his upkeep lightning bolt and the Psyblast. So he only took 1 from the Vice.
Yup, and 2 from the blast, dropping himself to 4, which is again not the worst place to be.
Attack for 4.
Where is
No
Scheffenecker's life total now after
He's
this
at 8,
attack?
I think, if I'm calculating correctly.
So he's at 8 right now after the attack.
Yeah. No, before.
Psyblast.
Oh my God, he did it! Unless Chef has a bolt
Yep, you win.
for the draw, he did it. Wow.
That's some tight play.
He libraried with the 2 vice, with the second vice on the stack. I think he had to library into that counterspell, right? Or maybe he had enough instants he just libraried anyway.
That game
But-
took years off my life.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. But it's a really good play. Actually, I have to go to the bathroom real quick. So I'll let you handle the stream for just a few moments, and I'll be right back.
Yeah. That's
So,
such an interesting line on the
Those games were in
the demonic for that. Like I really like that
Chef.
because you've got the
Kind of
workshop
drew it
so
up
that's
just how he
basically
wanted,
like another
and
Black
Stebo
Lotus.
had all the answers.
Yeah.
Now comes the
It's
tricky
like-
part with the sideboarding.
It's like,
so
can you
I don't
have a
know
lot
if
of
you
mana,
guys at
which
home,
is
you can look up the
problem,
deck lists,
and you
but
can
their sideboards
library,
are basically
like double the
full of
problem.
blasts
Um,
and shatters and blood
but
moons.
I-
The interesting cards are
I almost
Stebo has
guarantee
3
some
energy
damage
fluxes
with
in his
the
board,
vice,
which
right?
will clearly be pretty good in this matchup. And let's see, Scheffenecker has 2 cities. So basically, there's a big thing going on here with City in a Bottle, right? Chef has 1 main deck, City in a Bottle, and 2 more in his board. What does he do here? Given, like, clearly in a vacuum, these cards are great, right? Because he plays 8 Arabian guys. But I think Stebo is going to take out probably at least 6 of his Arabian guys here, maybe even all 8. And at that point, City in the Bottle is a full-on liability because it just kills 5 of Chef's own cards and only 3 of so I think he's gonna front run him there and take out all of his guys for these energy fluxes, all the clearly the blue blast, shatters. I don't know. And then, Chef can kind of hold serve and maybe kind of front run the energy fluxes by taking out some of his Ankhs, which are medium in the matchup.
Are you
Remember a
thinking
bunch of-
about the? Sorry, I'm back.
Yeah,
Are you
you
thinking
know-
about the sideboard plans right now?
Magnus, you back?
Yeah. Sorry. Were you talking about the sideboard plans?
Yeah, I'm just starting to go. I basically just went through the fact that all I did was lead with that Chef has 2 City in the Bottles on the board, which in a vacuum are great. But Stebo knows this, probably going to take out his guys, and I'm kind of in the middle of this back and forth. So I don't know. So what do you do right now if you're Stebo and you know that Chef has access to 3 City in the Bottle after board? You take out at least some of your Arabian guys, right? How many would you take out this matchup?
I think I would cut the Serendips probably because they don't look that impressive. They deal damage to themselves. You know that your opponent will have the elemental blasts, and I think they're just perhaps a little sketchy in this matchup. They could work, but
if you know that your opponent only has 2 red elemental blasts in a sideboard.
yeah, but he will still have 3 City in a bottle after sideboard.
But will he? Like that? So that's the thing. My contention is, or not my contention, but my question is, does Chef know that Stebo's going to do this and just not even bring in his cities and in fact sideboard out his 1 city? I think there's a chance he doesn't even bring them in, and they're just a big bluff.
I think the City is still better than the Ankhs here. or other Black Vice perhaps, because they don't really do that much in this matchup, and they will just get eaten to a tog if you want the cities, and the upside is so big.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you pretty clearly have to keep one in your deck just to keep them honest.
Yeah.
I don't know about the second and third. Like, let's look at what Chef's. I'm not even watching the game anymore. I'm just looking at the matches, or they're not done, right? They couldn't be. This
No.
hasn't started yet, has it?
So I think that what they clearly bring in is some combination of blasts. That's fairly given.
Let's do it real quick. So Chef right now, what's your plan? Like,
So,
what
okay,
is that card?
So if I would be Stebo for the first match after, I would bring in 2 Control Magic, Shatter, 2 Red Blasts, and at least 2 Energy Flux, and I would probably cut 8 creatures, and then see what happens.
3 Fluxes plus 2 Blasts is 5, Shatter is 6, 2 Control Magics is 8, and you cut all 8 dudes. That's pretty much what I was thinking. The only other argument here is Chain Lightnings can be maybe a liability and that they can bounce them.
Yeah, but I mean, you can choose the time where you do it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and clearly in these games it hasn't mattered, right? But sometimes you draw Chain Lightning late in the game and it's just like it feels dead because you're just trading 3 damage for 3 damage.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably better. I don't even know, because maybe you hedge a little bit and keep 1 or 2
you could possibly cut like a Chain Lightning for the Boomerang, right?
Right. I think maybe you shave 1 or 2 chains and maybe keep maybe the Boomerang as a catch-all and maybe 1 Arabian guy in the deck just to mix things up. And if Chef happens to see it game 1 or game 3 here after board, maybe he sideboards him if he didn't do it before. Like, there's so many mind games now. Just keeping it Miser's copies of random cards. It could do work.
I mean, if you would have played the version of You Are Burned that won BSK 2 years ago, like a 60-player tournament, Olorada won that one. He played one Surrender Jin in the deck. I would have kept that one, because then you have a tutor target that is a big creature in case you need to just find something big to finish up on yourself. So maybe keep 1 Surrender Befreet to have as a target, and other than that, win with burn all the control spells. You have the blast, you have the shatters, you have all the bolts, you have the counter spells, and then factory beat down with bolts.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think I would cut 7 guys and 1 chain for those 8 cards that we mentioned. Possibly a Boomerang if you're feeling extra spicy. But Boomerang's also just like a pretty good answer to an all-in ATOG, obviously. Yeah. But I guess that has a bunch of blasts. So.
I mean, it can buy you a turn. I mean, like Boomeranging and attacking factory when the opponent has Ank out, if you still have them as a sideboard. I think that's that buys a lot of tempo, and this is a tempo matchup.
Neither one of these guys have the best tempo play in Old School and Hercules. I can't believe that Chef doesn't have Hercules anywhere in his 75. Not that it would be amazing in this matchup. It doesn't really do much, but I'm just surprised he doesn't have one.
Yeah, I think
with the vices, right? Like just leaning on the vices and the Ankhs a little bit, like just having access to 1 Hercules in your deck, I think is.
It would have been great in this matchup for sure, on both sides. I mean, you're playing Wheels and Time Twisters, right? And you have an artifact deck on the opposite side of the table, or you can, just bounce the factories. So
right, just if they go play their land for the turn, attack with a factory, tap out, have 1 other artifact in play, and you just Hercules them there. That's a humongous play.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of the sweetest answers to Chaos Orbital, so I guess. So.
What's the interaction there? If they can't,
they can't flip it because it's on their hand, so play it again and try 1 turn later.
Okay. So it just buys you a turn.
Yeah.
It looks like Stebo, is he double mulliganing right now? I think he is.
Hurts. But I mean, I didn't expect him to win both games before sideboard.
We both thought he was mildly disadvantaged.
Yeah, I would say like 60-40, 55-45 to. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Got it.
Immediately.
Hey, I might win a game.
Yeah, talk about our sideboard plans right now while they're in the middle of sideboarding. Yeah,
Can't see
perfect.
your hand this time.
So it does. It seems like he double mulliganed. You know, I guess he's on the draw, but he's clearly in a big hole right now.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this guy sideboard. I'm really just curious what Chef did with these bottles and how much this bottle back and forth, like how much back and forth there was regarding this.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
So it looks like
And
Stebo.
So we're ready.
Also, I will say, like,
Yeah,
regarding the
take a
mulligan decision here and the
go
bottles,
the
that
mechanic
when I
Yep.
play against with a controller deck like Project M or something, and I face an Tog deck
I'm gonna
with a lot of burns,
Sure.
I'm mulliganing much more aggressively because if I mulligan to 5 on the draw, I just killed the.
Yep. Yeah, that's a very good point. You're much less scared to mulligan against a deck that you know is packing vices. You're a little
Yeah.
bit less sure now. He may have shaved
I'm just gonna
some,
go Badlands and
but that's a great point in general.
Turn
So-
1, beta
Well,
volcanic into ancestral is kind of good, and then they have a mirrored pair in beta.
no, but I didn't discard. Did he mulligan? Like what am I missing here?
Hunk.
No, he played an ancestral.
But I thought he played it. He's on the play, so he went on the play ancestral.
Yeah.
So
Because
you have to
it,
discard unless he did something else.
yeah, the blast. I mean, it's he can do it in his upkeep. Or yeah. You mean he didn't discard
Oh,
for an
he just
ancestral?
did it in the upkeep. There's no reason not to do it in your upkeep, right? Of course. We can't hear what they're saying, but it was very clearly in his upkeep. Okay.
Yeah.
So all this math checks out. He leaves, so he's keeping an Onk. He's keeping an Onks probably because he's on the play. I would imagine those Onks leave when he's on the draw next if he wins this game. But let's see how this plays out for him. I think it's obviously great now for Jimmy double mulligan, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this will be hard. So, Stebo needs to draw
Okay, I've got 18,
1 or 2 restricted cards here,
and then I'm gonna
Yep.
take a point and play a time walk.
and that's not the one we're looking for.
Probably the worst one, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
take the time walk turn.
Certainly.
So we'll count that as a quarter of a restricted card. He still needs to draw at least 1 3/4 more restricted cards.
Yeah, I mean,
to get out of this.
he just cycled the card, right? He didn't even do anything.
Hopefully he can explore. It looks like he's going to explore given the way he moved his lands apart. But
Yeah. That would have been a lot better if he was on the play. Then he would have done all this without an Ankh in play.
well, that's the price you should play for winning the first 2 games of this set. See, look at how much he's thinking about which land even to play. You know,
Yeah, but I mean, those kind of decisions really matters. Do we want to have a
Well, I'm not-
counter spell up for next
I'm
turn,
not
or do we
complaining.
want
I'm saying he's being thoughtful and he's
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
playing very well.
He's playing great Magic. This is great Magic. By the way, for those of you watching this, this is
Okay.
oh nice.
So that's the first one. He's probably going to get ancestral
Cards
here.
in hand.
Yeah,
3.
I agree.
So
Sure.
that's his first restricted card. That's enough to pull him out of his mulligan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Like mulligan into 5 is like, yeah, you need an ancestral to get +2 cards and just be back in the game to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've been stuck on Imperial Stouts now, by the way. I put away the lager because it's so exciting. So now it's Yeti Imperial Stouts.
Oh yeah, God, what is it? Midnight over there for you?
Just 10 past midnight.
Okay. Yeah, it's still 6 o'clock here. Barely even dinner time, and I'm now alone in my house with 3 kids upstairs. So
So
Needless to
only
say,
white liquor.
what's that?
Only white liquor then, or
Yeah. Maybe the kids are drinking some upstairs right now. Who knows?
yeah. Yeah, mine just went to sleep. So
I
still,
forgot. So how is she? Like 3 months now?
yeah, 11 weeks tomorrow. So
11 weeks tomorrow. You're such a new dad. Oh, my
Yeah.
daughter's 11 weeks,
yeah,
and
no,
yeah.
I was saying that like my dad joke I said should be like when anyone asks how old she is, I usually answer 0. So I still counting her in years, but now I fell out of that one.
That's better. I like that. You're showing your true new dadness by announcing your child's age in weeks. But that's fine. We all did it. I certainly did it.
And I mean, today, by the way, is I turned 35 and a half today. And I don't really care that I'm half a year.
Wow, what are the odds? So you turn 35 and a half the day before your daughter turns 11 months. I mean, what are the odds? There's So I don't get what Stebo is doing here. I think he tutored for Ancestral, but he didn't Ancestral when Chef was tapped out and had no access to Blast. Maybe he didn't tutor for Ancestral then. I don't know. Chef's also mana starved here, and if that Atog gets bolted, that Ankh goes away, and all of a sudden Stebo is taking the upper hand in this game again.
I mean, there is a possibility here, depending on what Stebo's hand is, that you could go for either a draw 7 or actually control magic.
Control magic will blank board. I mean, it's good, but the problem with that, I guess Chef only has 2 red blasts. Normally, you're scared to death with control magic after sideboard, right? Because they can answer it for 1.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
Chef actually has 2, so, and they're like the best card in his deck right now.
Yes, agree.
So,
Yeah,
like,
I didn't even consider red blast. Very, very correct. I think that Ancestral is where you want to be.
And I just don't get why he wouldn't cast it when Chef was tapped out. I'm trying to think of a reason.
What would he get otherwise? Would he get?
I mean, if his hand was full garbage.
I mean, he could have gone for Engiflux, right?
Yeah, but what is that even doing now? Like, I guess. I just think Energy Flux can get back that card advantage in the same way that, that an Ancestral can. Not necessarily on this board, but over the long game.
Let's see, sorry.
And it does have a factory, so it's not.
We want to make it exciting for the people at home.
He could get a factory. We'll see. We'll see. It's exciting.
I'm excited to see. If he ends up winning, we'll have to ask him. Unless he just Ancestrals right now and he was just slow rolling us this whole time.
Okay, let's try a fireball.
Fireball for 2.
All right, so what do? Do you sack the Ankh?
Yeah, because you have 2 lands and you're facing an 8-bolt deck.
Right, and you're gonna basically you didn't get to play a land last turn, and you're gonna have to start playing lands to get back in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you. Wow.
Ooh.
So he doesn't do it. He's leaning on that on card. It might mean that he has a bunch of Moxes in his hand that he's sandbagging.
Or an extra Tog or something.
Right, or a second Tog. That could have just been his fodder. Yeah. Okay, second Tog. Yep.
Makes sense.
That's a pretty obvious line there that you can take if you have a second Tog. So. I think he's still at 20, so it's 14 to 20.
Yeah.
But Stebo is catching up in resources and plays a land.
I'm really going to take 3. I'm going to chain lightning you.
So we're 14 to 18, 11 to 18.
Accepted some chains because he just chained him. So now 14 to 17 with a Tog and an Ankh on board. What do you think the chances are here? Who's favored at this point?
I mean, it's tight, right? I guess that.
I think
Michael,
it's very
Michael
close.
is slightly favored, but it's close.
I agree. I think he's a slight favorite, but it's not. It's very close. Nothing.
I mean,
nothing
those 2 extra bolts that Richard have in damage, that makes a difference.
Yep.
We haven't seen any sideboard. Sorry, what did you say?
No. I'm just thinking, what's Stebo's best play here? Like, what's he really hoping to do? I still want to know what he tutored for. He didn't tutor for Fireball. It must be he tutored for Flux, assuming it would be good down the line. Maybe that's what he did. Maybe Mind Twist? That doesn't make any sense though.
No. Shatter? No. I'm not sure. Blast? This is very exciting.
5, you need to do something to just kind of get back to card parity. So either Ancestral or a Draw 7 or a Mind Twist, or maybe a Flux if Scheffenaker, flooded the board with
Just
artifacts.
likes to eat things.
Yeah.
Gobble, gobble, gobble.
I know it's so incomplete.
We'll see. What were you saying before about
It's your
sideboard?
thing,
Sorry, I
it's
interrupted
my
you.
thing.
Yeah, we haven't seen the sideboard
Well,
cards
it
yet.
eats my life.
That could be
So I
interesting.
mean,
Yeah.
um,
And we've seen cards that both of us kind of thought
Yeah.
might not make it after
it's,
sideboard. Like Chain is a medium card, Ankh is a medium card, although albeit better on the play. Fireball is a pretty medium card.
Yeah,
but I
but
guess he had a bunch of creatures to take out. So
yeah, and I in my idea, I wouldn't cut the Chain Lightnings. Maybe Fireball, but I think Fireball is still pretty good. I mean, it's in the mid to late game, it kills pretty much anything.
I think
But-
if you know that Chef is on Ankhs, you can take the Fireball out after this game. But maybe he's just doing Ankhs because he's on the play.
Yeah.
I think there's like Ankh is arguably the biggest play draw card in old school. I feel like I sideboard them out on the draw all the time and then bring them back in on the play.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Chef is doing.
I have two decks I've played with, my mono green and black white deck that had 4
okay,
black
let's
vice
try
in the
some-
sideboard just to put in when you're on the play because they're so much better on the play.
Yeah.
I don't even want to risk, the Dyro in that matchup
And
to
I'll pass.
actually be on the draw and have them in my deck because they're so bad on the draw in those kind of decks.
Cards in hand?
Yeah, I agree. There's no cards. Those two cards, the most swingy and most die roll dependent cards. That's kind of interesting. Just sideboard them so you can play them when you're on the. You're only playing them when you're on the
And
play.
I'll
I like that.
regrowth my
Yeah.
ancestral.
So there we had a big surrender Befreet from Stebo, who apparently kept at least a few of them in.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did what we said. We thought he would keep in 1 dib just to keep him honest. So he did.
Cast
Tapped
Ancestral
out,
as
went to 10.
Yeah.
Oh,
Chef
double
and
ancestral.
grows ancestral. So now he's
Yeah.
firmly in the lead.
So now he has
Up to 9
an
cards in
advantage
total?
of 6 cards.
If-
No, 8.
If he has, a Mox or 2, he can basically just. I don't even know if he wants to force a block here. He might just say go, let him ping himself to death with a Serendib, which he will have to.
Play.
Oh,
Sure.
at this point you attack, right?
Yeah, because that thing is representing what 7 damage now. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to attack, although then you have to sacrifice. You kind of have to sacrifice your Mox and your Vice to kill the Dib.
I'm in.
Do you want to do that? I think he's saying go,
So
assuming that the Dib is going to
16,
kill him.
play-
Like he can't really attack with the Dib,
No,
right?
no, I
just-
agree. I agree.
With the point off.
That's
So
correct
4 in
play.
hand, so no
And your
vice.
Vice isn't doing much here. Your Mox is medium here. You really don't want to sacrifice that Ankh at this point.
Man, he's gonna die from the dib, right? Because he can't attack. Because if he attacks, he will die in his next upkeep.
He might be able to block with the factory, but the factory is quite boltable
Yeah, that's
and,
true. Yeah.
and quite killable.
Yeah, it's looking like we may
that-
go-
Changes things. Although I would think that this Lotus changes
Good.
things, but he's so low on cards. I just don't know that it does at this point.
And I also
guess-
want to note again that this is the only whiteboarded cards in both of their 75 together. So
Gross.
yeah, he should just sacrifice it. I think.
Yeah, it's just it's disgusting.
Yeah, that's
Go
removed
to
from the
Lotus,
battle.
Take a point.
Yeah.
Go to 8.
Color?
So he tapped
blue.
the city on for control magic.
That's a blue.
Yeah.
Control magic.
So I think that could have been the tutor target.
Wow, into 2 lands on an empty board. Well, now he gets to attack with the Serendib
then I'll
and
attack
the
with
factory.
Yeah.
Turn the tides here.
And I mean, I'm not sure if it's the
mine.
most correct
You're at 8.
play
Yeah.
to tutor for it, but I see if it did that. I mean, I can see that you do it because he has played so conservatively, and in the late game, if you find yourself in a situation like this could really turn the tables. So
For sure. I felt like he was such a dog to get to the late game, given he double mulliganed and was under this
Yeah.
Ankh and all the pressure. But it's I mean, if Scheffenaker has a red blast here, it's just going to feel terrible. But it feels like he doesn't. He probably would have. cast it if he did. I mean, I don't think he would hesitate for a second to cast it.
No, it's really exciting. Because I usually play one of at least Control Magic in my dirtly decks like Predict M and Adventure Island and these kind of builds. And that can really, like in this scenario, I mean, even if he just has it as like a Cretin or whatever you want to call it, it's or a Ray of Command. You know, doing
All right,
that.
so
kind
that's
of-
that's actually game. He does 7 to him right now, unless he can. Oh no, that's
yeah, he's tapped out.
Yep.
Yeah,
And the
that's
Dib will, do the rest.
that's one way to end it.
I think he could blast his own dib on his upkeep, but the trigger stack. So that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
Feels like he drew the
Good
bolt
games.
for
Good game.
Xaxes,
Yeah,
or drew
that's
one of
solid.
those 2 cards for Xaxes.
Yeah.
Wow. So Stebo gets control magic over Ancestral. Man. Never would have thought it.
That's pretty cool.
Again,
I
that's why
assume
he's not-
because he couldn't get like the fireball, right?
No. There's no chance he got Fireball. That's like one of the worst cards left in his deck, especially with an Ankh in play.
And if he would have gotten the Lotus, then he would have cast the Surrender immediately. And I don't think you want to go for the Surrender in that. So either he had it in his hand or he went for the Control Magic.
Yeah, the control magic. Given how the game played out, it feels like he tutored for control magic.
Yeah.
I just feel like at that time, like into an empty board, right? Like Chef didn't have anything going on. He just had 2 lands and an Ankh in play.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I mean, like Stebo had 2 lands or 3 lands where one was a Mishra's Factory, so
Yep.
he would have the inevitability at that point. So if nothing changed in the board and if no one played anything more, he would eventually win.
Yeah, that's a good point. The counterpoint there is that Chef is up 6 cards. So,
Yeah.
but you're
That's
right.
a
That is a good point. He has an inevitability on the board, and he does have the factory. And if they just sit there staring at each other, he's going to start chipping in. So,
Yeah.
all right. So Stebo looks like he's not sideboarding differently. He didn't take any time yet. We'll see if he changes things up on the player of the draw.
Yeah.
Scheffnecker looks like he's doing some work in his sideboard, although not that much work. So maybe he's not changing too much up. I'm curious if he leaves in a full suite of Ankhs and Vices on the draw, and when he he doesn't know that Flux got played, although he's got to assume Flux is coming in.
I would be surprised if he keeps all of them.
Yeah, I honestly think, I don't know, against a deck with 3 Moxes, Ankh, what would you cut? Like, what would you cut first,
I had
Ankhs or
Chaos
Vices
Orb
in this
there, but it's
matchup?
like, do we just cut
I mean,
Chaos
if
Orb
I would probably
Control
cut
Magic? No.
Vices first. Yeah.
I think I could just win, right?
I think it's close. The only upside with Vice is
Yeah,
that
it's a funny game.
It
you
feels
know
like-
you can just spew your hand and just draw 7 later and have your Vices randomly deal 6 in them.
Yeah.
That's kind of. But yeah, they're a little cheaper to cast. But I don't hate on against.
I mean, it's possible that you do some combination.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. That's what I mean. If he was going to cut 4 artifacts, maybe he cuts 3 Ankhs and 1 Vice or something.
Yeah.
But I liked it so much.
But he has
Yeah.
to shade. He can't just leave all of those in against Flux with only 2 red blasts in his deck and just lose every game to Flux. That's just not a strategy you can take.
No.
Well, look, sometimes.
But I mean, you
yeah,
only want to
sometimes
add
Your guy plays Ancestral twice, and you think,
like,
Yeah.
maybe 5 cards or so, so you don't need to cut because like Earthquake is horrible in this matchup, right? So that's something that you will
The
cut.
demonic tutor, I assume you got the.
I think
answer there.
Schnaker made
Yeah,
the same
it
mistake
was
I
just
did last
difficult
year in the
because
Winter
I wanted to
Derby.
go for
I played a
Ancestral,
main deck
but I just
Earthquake
thought to
in my
myself,
Rook Egg control
because
magic
you already
deck,
have 1 artifact
just
down,
assuming it'd be a good
Yeah.
card in general to
it's
kill
not just
weenies and
swap
just because in
out,
Eternal
and just
Central,
needed to
it's an
Yeah,
all-star, right? It's one
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the cards.
definitely.
manage your
And then I didn't
resources.
realize how
Yeah, that's correct.
just really bad it
Maybe-
is in Swedish in general. It's
I mean,
never a main deck.
Energy Flux is a haymaker.
I mean, you can play it
Just straight up.
in Burn occasionally, but I mean it's not nearly as good as it's in Eternal Central rules.
Right.
So,
All right. So Chef,
well,
I feel like he switched up his mulliganing a little bit, but not much. It looks like to me, I don't know if Stebo took any time, so I think he kept his deck the same. I would at least pick up my sideboard and just play some mind games, right? Just like
Yeah, yeah.
pretend something. just to
Because
be quick.
in this scenario, right, you have seen that your opponent has Ankh, which could change your cyber plan, and the other guy has seen that, oh, my opponent has Surrender Befreet, which could definitely change the sideboard plan. Or you could think that, oh, now I showed my Surrender Befreet, which means that my opponent will have 3 cities in a bottle. So now I can cut all my creatures and I can go for the control plan, which I always thought about.
That's exactly what I was saying before this round. So if we kept in a Miser's creature, just one, randomly showed off game 3, and so Chef brings in his bottles here and he takes everything out.
Yeah.
I mean, those bottles, like Chef has clearly been leaning very hard on his cities, right? His cities of brass in this match.
Yeah.
And Bottle took them off from him. So if somehow Stebbing can kind of trick Chef into bringing in all the bottles, that's a wonderful Jedi mind trick that could flat out win him this match.
Yeah, because at that point, I mean, then Michael has what is like 8 cards from Arabian Nights, 3 bottles, library, and 4 cities, and
Right.
Stebo only has 3 because he only has 2 bottles in the library.
Okay.
Right. The libraries cancel out. The cities, the bottles are what they are, but the two city of brasses versus 4 city of brasses is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
If we're bottling.
Let's do it.
Like I'm known to like play main deck bottles if I'm playing 3 cities of brass and not put them anywhere near my deck if I'm playing 4 cities of brass. That's how close it is on this, the tale of 2 cities math that we're all constantly doing in this format.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice start from. Oh, that's a very nice start from Stebo.
If he has a draw 7, it's probably over. Draw 7 in the bowl. Looks like he does. Yep.
Oh.
Okay. He's a monster favorite now. It's too bad he didn't have a bolt or something to just like totally finish him off at that point. But
I think last time I played Gordon Anderson in a tournament, who I think is helping host the stream, he started with Lotus into Surrender Befreet, Blue Mox into Ancestral, and then Chain Lightning you. So I mean, it's possible to do shitty starts with these kind of decks as well.
Yeah. Sure. That's the first truly busted start we've seen. Chef has executed his game plan, and he's been like vicing into Ankh, but he hasn't done anything truly broken. I guess until he played that like
If I ever got Lotus,
turn 6 time twister in game 2. But that was later in the game. It's the first broken start.
I mean, like this is justice, right? Because last turn he started with 2 cards less, and this time he started with 2 cards more.
And explore 2, I guess.
Yep. So they're even. He's even now over 2 games.
Yeah, you got 2 resources out of it.
Yeah.
I kind of hope he somehow manages to lose this one, so we can just see an insanely epic game 5.
Yeah.
All right, let's
still,
see.
I mean, yeah, like the game 5s are always like, one guy molds 2-4.
Yeah, it inevitably happens that way, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm gonna.
I think Chef is trying to decide if he wants to mulligan right now.
I'll pass.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
His body language looks like he wants to mulligan. Unfortunately, he can't.
Pass.
Okay, that's a good start.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that Stebo didn't have any Flying Man or more power cards or Soul Rings or even Chain Lightning or anything. So,
Yeah, I would have figured him for a chain or something. Now he probably doesn't have Flying Man in his deck at this point, but
yeah,
you're something there. He drew one of his. He already drew 2 of his 5 pieces of jewelry, so it's unlikely to have another. But now he's in the drive. Spell up. We never thought about that. We never talked about sideboarding out some counter spells against this Vice Ankh deck, which is also a very real strategy, right? Like counter spells pretty terrible against Vice in general. So we could have shaped up for those.
But at this point, I mean, you want to cast an Energy Flux, right? You don't want to keep up counter spell, because if you cast an Energy Flux there, then
I just meant like in general in the matchup. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'll shatter.
So this is a
Sapphire.
Yeah, that's a good play.
Yeah.
So do you counter that?
I don't think so. It depends on. He probably has plenty of mana sources, right? Those 2 he has in play are his free ones.
Yeah.
So he has a
I mean,
full
I'm
7
just
already.
gonna attack.
Yeah.
So I think you can probably let that
Sticking on
go.
the same thing.
Although I guess now your shields are
So how
down
many
for
cards
potential
do you
time
want, sorry?
twister or wheel right now.
I have
Yeah.
3.
Could be what's happening. Oh no, he played an ATOG.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so ATOG is not naked at all. He probably waits till his turn if he's gonna bolt, so he can maybe double bolt it.
Thinking about that.
Yeah, or blast it.
Right. I mean, blasting it is pretty great. Either blast works here, really.
Or you don't want to just want to wait and take some ship damage and then blast it if you sacrifice something.
Right. Right.
Yeah, let's go for a blue blast.
Right. He didn't want to mess around.
Yeah. Able to use all his mana on his turn, you know, in case he draws. If he draws
He has a
an
flux.
energy flux now, so I think
And
he's
he-
also playing on the top of his library there.
I agree. And God, if he has flux, how great is it that he just got his mock shattered? It's just like everything's coming up perfectly. If that's the case. I wonder. Again, he can't have flux because he would have just gone land flux without even thinking for a second.
Yeah,
he
but-
can't have it.
But if Flux was on top of his library, I mean, then that would be the
Spam it
absolute first play.
faster. You're like, I did it. I mize it off the top. You just tap all three. Oh, he's thinking about his land. Yeah. He's thinking about factory or blue land, I think.
I'll
So
make a
then-
factory.
If he has flux, yeah, it's over.
Oh.
This game's over.
And I mean, at this point,
And pass them.
even if he has the blast, now he will lose at
Pay
least the
for
mocks,
color.
right? Yeah.
He'll save his brain, right? If he has a blast, I guess it trades for a blast and a mox, but when he's already got 2 free cards off of the twister. Right, that's one way to do this. It's just, yeah, I just don't. I mean, Stebo has to be like 80% from here, maybe 85.
Yeah, Stebo has a strong edge here. But I mean, it's I wouldn't say it's over at any point. If he has another factory, it's very close to over. But if it doesn't, no, because at this point, you know, Sushi could still
I'll make
take
an
down the game.
Right.
And
He
pass.
does need a threat, although the Suchi is going to really eat up his mana. But
Yeah, but it's also gonna eat up Stebo, I
yeah,
Cards in hand.
good point. Suchi will eat everything.
I'll swing with it.
Cards in your hands?
3.
3.
So do you sacrifice the Sol Ring here? I think
In the dark, I don't
probably
think so.
not. No, not against double red man up, because then you know you just respond to the sacrifice with lightning bolt, right?
Right.
No blocks.
But even assuming he didn't have that, I think you just keep that around for maybe a world where you end up blasting
Yeah.
that flux at some point, and that soul ring does something for you.
Yeah, I agree.
Second Tog.
Another one.
Okay. He's playing things that are not artifacts. That's what he needs to draw now.
So Dragon Whelp here would be really good then.
Yeah, I'll try a counter spell.
Mana
Oh,
drain.
he's still thinking on that Tog. Did he drain that Tog? Oh wow.
Yeah, then it probably has something to play, right? Then I want to attack with his factories or something. Or he has a counter spell in hand.
Right. He just wants to make sure he can use them.
Yeah. And he
I mean,
also,
he-
he also
basically-
needs to start dealing damage eventually, right?
Yeah.
So,
Although he's not on much
I'll make a
at this
library.
point.
My land for
Oh
the turn.
dear God, is that live? No.
I don't think so, no.
Oh no, he just time twisted, so he probably has 5 cards in hand.
Animate factory. Attack for 2.
So he's not using his mana drain mana, huh?
Just,
it-
yeah, chilling it out.
Didn't have anything fun to do with that.
Cards in hand.
4.
I mean, there are no cards in the 75 that he can have that makes it a bad play, I think. But yeah. Yeah.
No, I just meant-
Bolt it.
he could
I just meant
time
like
twist-
Go ahead,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and actually, Michael could time twister next turn, and he could play a couple of black vices, and now he doesn't have mana to cast both Sonic Blast and Lightning Bolt. So,
right, something like that. Yeah, there's
but
some corner pieces where it could matter.
I'm going to go for a
So
counter
this is big. So he eats the counter now. If he draws a draw 7 right now,
Take 2.
yeah,
kind
then we're on. But I think
which is that's what eight decks do.
Plus you.
They
Yeah.
puke their hand and they just draw, or at least when other people play them, they draw their draw 7s. Whenever Will McGran plays 8-target decks, that guy must average 2.5 draw 7s per match. I think. Someone
My-
should watch him when he shuffles.
Cards in hand.
my record for
That's
one
right.
match is 9, And at that time, when my opponent actually won that game, he had Time Twister in hand, and I was so angry that I didn't cast it because like you can't just attack and win here. I mean, if I draw like a Swords of Pouches, and I promise I won't kill your creatures with it because it's so awesome just to have played 10 Time Twisters in one game. But he
Yeah, that's
still didn't play it.
kind of weird, right? Somebody call Guinness.
Yeah.
So Chef just had a Naked Chain. He's sitting on a bluffing blank of some sort in his hand.
Yeah.
Still though, they're trading 2 for 1.
I think it was completely correct to do that counter spell, so the factory lived.
Yep, I agree. So I think Chef's on just the 1 card, right? It feels it has to be a blank. His body language. Look at how he's leaning back. He's shaking his knee. It's clearly a blank. Look at him shaking.
He has 1 card, or he's like building up for the. That's the shape of like having a time walk in hand or something when you can't do anything with it. Also, it could be
right. Yeah, that's right. Either way, it doesn't. It's not great, Bob. Whatever that card is.
Yeah.
All right. So
on the Tog,
we're just. Yeah, I think so. Right. We got to do it on the Tog. And so now he can freely, or maybe he doesn't attack to keep counterspell up. Did he say go? All right, so he clearly has a counterspell in his hand.
Or at least.
Chef plays the volcanic that he was just holding. Maybe so no one knows what he drew at this point. He could have drawn a real card.
Attack for 2 with factory.
Attack for 2.
Cards in hand.
What is Chef at? 17, 15?
Yeah, 17. Well, that's good. So this is a harder thing to know if you should counter, I think.
I think you let it go.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I think so.
I think the only way you lose now is to draw 7. So.
Yeah, but you don't have that many cards in hand, and depending on how many creatures you boarded out.
Yeah, you might not have that many threats, I guess. Yeah. I also don't know how many cards he has in hand. If he has 5 cards and 2 counter spells, then it's an easy counter.
No, I think he's had 2 or 3 cards in hand. So
yeah,
I think
it's
down on 1 or 2 now. 1, it looks like.
Okay.
I should have been better on counting this.
Pass.
And now he's also like draw go here is just amazing for him, right? Because he has the library. If they just sit around and stare at each other, he's trading 2 damage and drawing up to 7 cards.
Yeah, I mean the Stabos deck is much better at playing the control role, I think.
Yep. Maybe that's why Chef kept in a bunch of his artifacts because he just has to be the aggro deck. He's like if we get into these,
nice.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
80, it went from 88% to 90, 95%. Chef's literally.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still tapped out. So I mean, a Twister
right,
or
only the draw 7 off the top right now has to be draw 7. Yep, that's not the look of a man who drew a draw 7.
I don't see his face, but the body language of a man who draws it of brass.
Oh, he's got his hands folded for the inevitable. Who knows what's coming?
Yeah.
Draw card, library. Good
10.
lord.
So goes up to 7.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Draw 1 with library.
Yeah.
So the first library activation in this final? No, the second actually.
Oh yeah, for the
land
counter spell with the vice before. Yep. Good call.
Then I'll animate the first factory, attack for 2, try and make it 3.
Shatter.
Ooh.
He's down to. Does he have the case bolt? Oh no, a shatter.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you can let this one go.
Yeah, because you have a threat
now.
still, right?
Yeah.
And I'll pass 10.
I hope he draws a draw 7 now, and Stebo has the counter just so his good play can prove correct. Yeah. Well, okay. So there's just a formality at this point.
Draw for the turn.
So I'm surprised. Maybe
Strip Mine is my land for the turn.
I mean, the part of me thinks that maybe I don't quite give Blue Red Burn the credit it deserves, kind of like I never
And
did
make factory
Troll
two.
Disco.
No blind.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Blue Red Burn is definitely tier 1. It's
I'll pass to you.
It's definitely tier one. I kind of still think it's a shade behind the Tog decks, but maybe I could just be flat out wrong about this. Maybe I'm just too scared of City in the Bottle. I think that.
yeah, I'm not sure about those. I think that like there are so many different Tog decks that has done well in Sweden. The first one that won tournaments here like 6 months after Manifold was unrestricted was the Tog Smash decks with Berserks.
Berserks,
And then yeah, and they often played Holy Minds and Relic Barriers for card advantage. And then you had the Tog Flare decks, who played Candelabra and the Mana Flares as well to just go crazy big. And I think the
like incidental
Vote you?
damage, like to
yeah, and then Mana Flare is surprisingly playable card, and it's a 1-drop artifact with that Tog. And then I think it was not that long ago that the Tog Burn decks or Hate Tog, or I'm not really sure what's, because this guy's a Hate Tog, right? What you usually call. Yeah.
very, very.
7.
Yeah, he has it all. He has Blood Moons in his board. He has bottles. He has the full Onks and Vices. It's a very hateful deck.
Yeah. So that's a deck name we haven't used that much in the Swedish meta. I think we'd mostly call them a Tog Burn, but Hate Tog is a nicer name, I think. So should start to adopt that.
Better.
Psyblast
My
you?
favorite 1-drop artifact for these ATOG lists is
And I will.
Glasses of Urza, especially
Yeah.
when you
you
have
Berserk
Berserk.
builds. Yeah.
Because then you can see if the coast is clear. A, to sacrifice your artifacts. B, to Berserk, and then C, you just get a free shock in a pinch. You know, I like a Miser's Glasses in all of those lists.
Control metric.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think
even
it's
just for.
not bad.
I think it's correct.
I mean, now this is painful, right? We have left our eyes from the game for a while, but here
What
it comes
just
to draw
happened?
7.
What did you-
Yeah, and so he threw a Sonic Blast.
He has
Uh,
outs here. He has outs. If he draws like
So,
Mox,
we'll play
Time
one
Walk,
turn.
untap.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't even play his land yet. So if he time walks here, he has outs.
And we'll
Yeah.
take one and we'll time
I
this.
mean, doing for the love of the game, right? Oh, Twister, nice.
So now he's really digging deep.
I
Now he has to
mean,
draw
I like it.
Sapphire, another Mox, and Time Walk,
For the- so you
and
can-
or I guess a
so it's
Lotus. You
gonna
could draw
resolve,
Lotus
so
Time
I
Walk.
I mean, it's so sweet to draw.
Yeah,
we,
so is
oh,
that.
that's a lot of
Okay,
balls.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
We're
clearly
good.
on tap is game, right? So he has to draw Time Walk.
Man.
I don't even know
Yeah.
what Chef is at. What's Chef at? 6?
8.
So what am I at?
8?
I'm at
Yeah.
6.
I mean, either way,
You're
he's
6 and I'm on 13.
it's Time Walk or no at this point.
Alright,
And
so
it's not
you-
even
sorry,
that
you
great
took
because
enough
all these
points off
artifacts
the
are going to die to this
5 because
flux.
you-
But
So
you
really,
got-
he wants.
you took the
But I mean,
You
like the
want-
showmanship, man. I mean, the showmanship
no,
of
it's,
casting,
it's
wheel
the
into
city reducer.
Twister.
Yeah,
That's
Exactly. But this is what these decks do.
They need a
Like
very
he could
specific
draw
set of
Lotus,
cards.
Time Walk, Vice, untap,
I feel like
do a bunch of shit,
yeah.
and then
Man with a
Stebo
very
has no
specific set of skills.
instance, and all of a sudden he might just be dead. You know, like
Yeah.
these decks do
See.
things like this, and that's part of the reason why they're so powerful.
Yeah.
Play this like little chip damage kind of garbage game early on, and then all of a sudden you draw 7, and it's just there's nothing that they can do. Granted, this is not the best spot for that because he's too low on life, and he literally has no more land drops and no more mana. But
Cut to my
he's
bait.
drawing live to Lotus Time Walk.
Cut my bait.
Yeah, I mean the artifact aggro decks, or what you call them, these hate dog decks, is
Good.
Yep.
I think there were. I think it was 5 played at last year's NoobCon, and 4 of those 5 placed in the top 16.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
a different group. One that like Seb played. They played more of like a Hercules, like a Mana Vault
Yeah.
plan,
Bounce
right?
in the turn.
Yeah, but I mean, like
Those-
the idea
those-
with
those-
Sushi's lots of burn spells and a couple of ATOGs, they can also play Juggernauts in Swedish meta.
Yeah.
They're I would say they're tier 1 as well.
Yep, I agree. There's probably like 10 different versions of blue ready burn decks,
Yeah.
that are all
Yep.
tier 1.
Same with the deck. I
Well-
mean, they're like changing 4 cards in the deck makes it very different. So there are many ways of playing the deck. You know, you can do it with lightning bolts or mirror universe plans or
Yeah, no, like I needed
whatever.
like Lotus.
All right, so that's it. Do you want to
like
let's let them
Sapphire
breathe
Mox,
for a minute before we hop
you-
in
You
to
need
Yeah.
to
their chat?
need
Ch-
time.
Literally, it just
Yeah.
ended. It was a formality for the last
Lotus
8
time
minutes,
will
but
untap.
it did finally end. Congrats to Stebo.
I mean,
Very
I
well
don't know how
played, Sebo.
devastating it would have actually
Yes,
been. because
very well played.
That's two
From
two
both of them,
cards,
I mean,
but,
this
like,
is good
I'd have
magic. This is
5 cards in
properly
which
good
I
magic.
have to deal 13 damage.
It
to
is, like,
outside
I
of
can
the
appreciate,
units
like,
in my deck.
We talk about spike
Yeah,
space all the
especially
time, right? But I can
with Flooded.
appreciate when
No, I
two
appreciate,
people who
that
know
was a
their spiky decks really well and are
Yeah.
playing them at a high level
bit of a funny
play
thing.
against
I
each
mean,
other in a
game-
matchup that really
in
matters.
the
I can
other
really
games I
appreciate
played,
that, and this was an
it
example of
started
that.
with a time
It was
Oh,
twister
great.
and essentially ended with a time twister.
So should we
Yeah.
try to take a chance and
Um,
talk
you
to
don't say-
Michael first,
No.
or should we just
Uh,
or should we
yeah,
or should we leave it in the hands
my
of
game plan
of
post-board was
maybe Marcus
we
or
sort of put
Dave?
it in even the
Yeah, I'm gonna.
board
So
five
I'll jump
game
into
was
the.
to try
Let's
and
jump into the up
kind of
here, and well, I guess we'll just
get
end
my
this
hand a
Skype
little
call, I
bit and
guess.
then just try and
Yeah.
pick a spot either with the control
Let's
magic.
see.
Or
So then we
the
should
energy
jump
box,
into
really.
Yeah,
the
I was 90% certain you were boarding in 1 shatter, two blue elemental blast, 3 energy flux, and 2 control magic. I did not know what you were boarding out for that. But
So the other card I boarded in was Boomerang.
yeah, I didn't think you would board in the boomerang, but it seemed, I mean, it would have been good if like I swung with an ATOG and you had 2 blue up.
Yeah, and
Chef,
there was a
Yeah.
moment
you there? It's Mano.
Hey man, how are you?
Hey man, oh, great game. Sorry about the loss, but you fought your best there, especially at the end.
Oh yeah,
Wheeling the time twister. I'm sure you're hoping to draw Lotus Time Walk, right? Like that's really
Yeah.
rolling out.
yeah. That's my out. Lotus
Yeah.
Time Walk.
I'm very curious about your sideboard strategy. I don't know. Like we were talking about it a ton. We don't necessarily know what either one of us would do in those
So-
situations. I heard you just say the tail end of what you did.
Oh, no, I was-
I
I was saying what I expected him to do.
Oh yeah. So what did you expect him to do? That's an even greater question.
Yeah, so I expected him to bring in Shatter, 2 BEB, 3 Energy Flux, 2 Control Magic, and he also brought in Boomerang, which I didn't think he would bring in.
What's funny is so that's what me and Magnus said. We're gonna bring in all 8 of those cards and maybe the Boomerang. We weren't sure. It was kind of depending on how spicy he was. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think he would bring it in, but he did.
I mean, It's
But-
certainly not the matchup for the Earth.
Did you Stebo, did you shave all of your I didn't hear that. I have you on mute. Hold on. Did you shave all of your Arabian creatures? That's what I'm curious about, or most of them?
Most of them. So I had a slightly different configuration for draw and play. So on the draw, I was cutting basically cutting all the flying men because they're just horrible against chain lightning.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yep.
3 counter spell, 2 did. So 9 are coming out each time. And then on the play, I was either cutting 4 men, so basically cutting 1 less counter spell, so 4 men, 2 counter spell, 2 dib, 1 chain. And then potentially, because I wanted to see if you were going to board in all your city in a bottle. We didn't really see that card come up, but I was minded to board back in another Serendib for counterspell. So I guess I
So
sort of cut 1, shave 1 dib, but use that as like the finisher if I can sort of try and dodge City in a Bottle.
So I did not board in City in the Bottle in our first boarded game, and then I boarded 1 in our second when I saw that you kept some Serendibs in. Like I assumed that you saw all my City in the Bottles and you were like, huh, I'm gonna board out all my flying men and a couple of my Serendibs, or all my Serendibs, and just try to burn me out, which is kind of what your main plan was.
Yeah.
And I wanted to keep some City in the Bottle for Serendib, and because of library, like mostly because of library.
I was in the first sideboarded game. I was so vulnerable to, even without playing the dib out, because I had City of Brass as one of my lands.
Yep.
The City in the Bottle would have been so devastating because you can then eat it to an ATOG, stone rain me. I'm under the Ankh. I mean, it was just I was just thinking the whole way, man. If I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose, especially as he keeps casting Ancestral Recall. But a City in a Bottle is just going to absolutely bury me in the ground.
Yeah.
We're on camera.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So, game 3, the first sideboarded game.
Yeah.
Stebo, you said that you left in a couple of dibs.
Yeah.
Was that so? So basically, my thought was we basically, first of all, we had this exact same conversation, almost exactly as both of you did about an hour and a half ago. It's kind of funny, but so we called it pretty well, I think. But I'm curious. So, Chef, when you saw the dib in game 3, did you sideboard in another bottle or two or something for game 4?
Yeah, I sided in 1 city and bottle for game 4.
Did you
So
have
I had-
0 bottles in your deck for game 3?
No, I had 1. The
Like a
main
main
deck,
Keep them honest. Okay.
yeah, the main deck bottle.
Got it.
Yeah. And like I felt that was all I really needed because like I'm not super scared of Serendib. I thought there was a world in which he boards all the Serendibs out because the damage loss to him. Like I actually thought Flying Men is better than Serendib against me.
That was my exact thinking as well, but I ended up on, I think, you may board out 8 creatures, but if you keep something, I think you may keep Flying Man. But we had a small discussion about that, me and Mano, before, but it's so interesting, this matchup after sideboard, because you can really like counter sideboard, and when you saw that Ifrit in the first sideboard game, that could be really something that he kept on in the one-off and maybe board it out afterwards, because that may pressure you to bring in all your bubbles. And if you have all your bubbles and he has none of his creatures, then he only has like 1 library and 2 Cities of Brass that are from Raven, and you will have the 4 cities, your own library, and 3 bottles. So
see, I like Flying Men better than Serendib for a couple reasons. It does not do points of damage to you. It can come out turn 1 where you have no turn 1 play really, except to like Chain Lightning me, and it can get a couple points of damage in. It's like a shock. If it's a shock, it's great. If it's a lightning bolt, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And like what's nice is you can play it on turn 3 and leave 2 blue up if that how the mana shakes out. Like whereas Serendib, you can't like if you play it, you're kind of tapping out.
I mean, I guess my kind of rationale with Serendib is either, so say for the cities in a bottle, your answers to it are the 2 red blasts and the psionic blast.
Yeah.
So my rationale is you basically use it in 2 ways. One is like basically a turn 1 div and just try and be very aggressive with it. Otherwise, my plan was to hold it back until essentially I could just clock you. Maybe you're on like 9 or 10, and I can basically use it to force through the last bits of damage.
Yeah.
The problem I had with the problem I was having. So I suppose it's 2 points. One is the interplay between Chain and Flying Men. That I kind of reasoned that I needed to keep in the Chain Lightnings. I suspected you maybe would shave some, but I kind of figured that I needed to keep the Chain Lightnings in to have enough bits of removal to deal with Atog and potentially Suchi and potentially the bolts, because my shatters are being stretched pretty thin.
Yeah.
And once I'd elected to keep in most or all of the chains, it struck me that the Flying Men were then so vulnerable to being chained back from my chains or your own bits of removal. So I kind of saw it that I agree that you're completely, like obviously spot on with that analysis of Flying Men. But I think once you think to yourself, I'm keeping in the chains, you then say, well, actually, Flying Men suddenly are a bit of a liability. But about the turn 1 Flying Men so nice, and my whole concern, pretty much, I figured I would lose this game to chip damage from Black Vice. That was my number 1 concern. So in the pre-board games, being aggressive with Flying Men, potentially the chain, was my sort of strategy. And then I guess in the sideboard, my reason for cutting the counter spells is you run the risk of having such a clunky hand, lots of counter spells, and you're too reactive, and then you lose.
You wanna? By the way, sorry to interrupt, but would you guys be able to turn your webcams up to just see your faces? Because it's really nice to.
Yeah, let me.
Nice.
I can do this. There we go.
Move that out of the way.
So by the way, before the game, which of the decks did you think were favored?
He was definitely favored. Like there's no question about it.
Do you think so?
Oh yeah,
We
Yeah.
put you on slightly favored pre-board.
yeah.
I
Well,
agree.
yeah, I think that my way to win this match was to win both the pre-boarded games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And just
Like-
ATOG them in one of the last ones. Just draw
yeah,
some-
like I'll get the play on one of the last three and hope to win like
Yeah.
the one where I'm on the play.
Yeah.
But my in game one I mulled a 6 and my 6 hand had like a fireball and a Suchi in it. And I was like, well, this is kind of a mull to 3. Right? Like it's because like those cards are awful against him. And so yeah.
you had to keep it on the strength of Vice and
Vice.
Ankh, I think,
Turn
or
one Vice, yeah.
whatever it
And
is.
then I got and then I it was like I think it was like turn one Vice, and I don't know what happened. Maybe I got a turn two
You
Ankh.
sat there into Ankh, clearly letting him know
Yeah.
that you didn't have another land. So it was just like you were clearly behind the 8 ball there.
Yeah, and so yeah, I was kind of out of it in game one.
Yeah.
Game two, I thought. Let me look at my life total. I thought I had a shot at that one, and then it just like didn't work out that way.
So
Yeah, I
that-
mean, game one.
Yeah, I
seemed
got you to
really-
2. Yeah,
It really hurt in game one, I think, when you saw that your second turn play was an Ankh, but it was of a Mox, right? So
Yeah, it was
at
off a
that
Mox,
point,
yeah.
you saw that. Okay, so because starting Black Vice into an Ankh on the play,
Yeah.
I mean that's what you want to do, right? But you
Yes.
would ideally have more than one land in that kind of hand.
Yeah.
My I had a strip mine in my hand in that game, and the second you played a land that wasn't a City of Brass, I
yeah,
would have attacked it aggressively with that strip mine. Yeah, that was just a bit of an anomalous game, I guess. But it's interesting you thought that. So I probably had myself as my deck as the underdog, but the fact you've only got one City in a bottle pre-board, I thought gave me like a decent shot of actually at least splitting the pre-board games, just because if I can get a decent kind of flow with the Serendibs, I can potentially block you.
yeah. Like so, say I win game one, I'm definitely on the play in game two, or I'm on the draw in game two, and you're much better when you're on the play. Like I'm much worse when I'm on the draw. Like I'm
Yeah.
just way worse when I'm on the draw.
Yeah.
And you can get under Vice in like 2 turns. Like if you get enough Moxes, you can get under Vice in like a turn. So
Yeah.
And what really sucks, like the reason my deck is so good against most of the field is that like I can leverage the draw 7s better than almost any other deck in the format. But against your deck, because we're playing like 90% of the same cards, like doesn't really do anything. You know?
Yeah, it is still the Black Vice probably puts you over, but it's not as devastating as it could be, right?
Yeah. And so it's interesting that you boarded in Control Magic.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was a little clunky. Like I thought you would board it in, but I think it's too clunky for this match.
Was that
I
the
think-
card you demonic tutored for?
Yeah,
in
that's what
the
we wanted to
board
ask
round?
you. Game 3, when you tutored and thought for a
Yeah.
long time, I thought for sure you had one City of Brass untapped after your tutor. I thought I would have bet the farm on you getting Ancestral there because he's tapped out. You can get it through a blast, but you clearly didn't because you never cast the Ancestral. Did you tutor for that Control Magic?
It was the Flux.
The
my
Flux.
my sort of
Okay.
plan was to basically run out those sort of like big enchantments. I thought that the risk of basically the way I think at the time you had the ATOG and the Ankh down, and I had I think I maybe had a Fireball in hand, because I think I destroyed one ATOG and you followed up with a second one.
You
But-
did. The next turn you tapped all 3 of your mana and you fireballed his ATOG with the Ankh out, and he let it go because he had another Tog in his hand. So he just let it go, played another Tog with no third mana source, and said go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my concern was although the Ancestral gives me kind of card advantage, of course, I really felt that I needed to like stick a Flux to have a shot of like sort of edging that game out. So I just
Yeah.
thought I had in hand the Fireball to deal with his ATOG, a Serendib, a Control Magic. I don't know. I think at the time I was, I maybe I need to work on my tutoring, as maybe it is. just
No, I think your idea is actually right. So you're really behind the 8 ball, right? That's the game that you mulliganed to 5, and he Ancestral on turn 1. So you're so far behind. So you need to recoup some card advantage in some way, shape, or form, albeit whether it's Ancestral or sticking a Flux and killing 3 artifacts or something. You have to do something of that nature to even remotely stay in that game. So I like your line makes sense. I'm not necessarily saying Ancestral was right. I'm just
Yeah,
Well,
he was just
I
low
think I was
on life at that point.
hoping you'd run out, say, 4 artifacts, not kill me with ATOG, and I could maybe get some value that way. No, that was the general plan. But
Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause
no,
also-
no. Energy Flux is very good against me, but
yeah,
and I think you were a little low in life at that point, like maybe not a ton. You were
Maybe
either 14 or 11.
I think the problem I had as well was the Ankh was really restricting my options, and I ended up having to play a second City of Brass, I think, into it, which was just awful. So there we go. Let me see if I can just adjust my webcams. I'm kind of like balancing it a little bit, but I can.
Fair.
So this was probably the most international, or at least the second largest old school Magic tournament ever. 142 players.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
we've
It's crazy.
seen
So many.
And I don't know if you know, but Stebo has been visiting Sweden before. He came to visit the Ivory Cup in Stockholm, for example. One of the Gordon Anderson hosts there, and he won both the best foreigner and the entire tournament,
There
and
it is.
brought home
the
both
guy ever
the
lose?
possible trophies he could.
Nice.
On my mantelpiece, literally.
Nice. It's good to have them there.
Well, I think it's I've had some luck over the last year for sure with pretty much this deck. Although I do wonder if it's maybe had its kind of moment in the sun, and there are some other lists out there that might trump it. But I was going to say, you said such a big tournament, Magnus. It's been, we wouldn't be here without Dave and his efforts in organising it.
Oh yeah.
Really been second to none, and kind of all the logistics with the kind of doing the pairings and setting up the stream and stuff. And thank you for all of your hard work. It's really appreciated.
And that's something I
Cannot
think we
say
need
that
to
enough
mention
times.
also.
This must have
It's not
been a
it's not
logistical
only
nightmare that we all thank you for holding our hands through all of it.
Oh yeah, it's been so fun, man. It's great.
I mean, it's not
Pleasure.
only that it's 142 players. This tournament has been played out over 6 weeks. I mean, that's by far like the longest old school tournament as well. So like managing to host that, and keeping it all together and keeping all the spreadsheet. I mean, it's a truly impressive thing you've done, Dave.
It's my pleasure, and it's just the community. Volunteering for the community it's become one of the great joys of my life, and with people like all of you, and it makes it quite easy to want to continue to put the work in and do what we do. And I know that goes for Magnus too. I think I can speak for both of us.
Well,
And that is like,
all you guys do such a great job with your respective kind of inputs in the community. And I mean, Chef, it'd be great if you can come over to Sweden one time. Or, I mean, the nice thing about doing that is you get to meet these people and buy them drinks to say thank you for all the hard work they've done, which it's hard to do when you're just got a few guys in London. But when we're all together, it works really nicely.
Yeah.
I look forward to doing that.
And you're certainly on the top of the list right now. If anyone would cancel, then you're the first guy I will contact.
Yeah,
That's
it
great.
seems like there's an outside shot, right? Stuff falls through the cracks all the time. You never know.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And I mehave I think it's worth saying I had a bit of input. My team, the Brothers of Fire, wouldn't have done it without them really. And so in particular, the legendary Jonas Twitchin
The legend.
and Ben and Ollie have been great help. And Carl Hagen, who came to Stockholm with me for the Ivory Cup and a few other tournaments. He plays everything.
Dave's holding up his own sticker.
And I think
oh, sure. I mean, congratulations.
I also want to say that I have your signature here, Ollie, or sorry, Stebo, from the Brothers of Fire card that I managed to grab myself.
Sure, no, I mean, congratulations to both of you for fighting all the way to the end of this. I know it was a marathon, and so you both played brilliantly, and I hope you had an amazing time. And congratulations, Stebo. You've secured the NewCon invite, so we'll see you back in the Rotary Pub again. Looking forward to that. Now you can maybe join the UK's Ryder Cup team. We'll have to talk to Jonas about that.
Yeah, get me back on the team. We need to,
Right.
we need to get that. That Ryder Cup is really the draw for going to NewCon for us guys. 'Cause we were keeping
Yeah,
the 18th green last year, so need to make amends.
and MGA and Mano, thank you so much for taking the time to provide the commentary. Marcus, thanks for doing all the tech and
Yes,
making
Marcus.
sure this is
Marcus,
a
thank
very
you also for
smooth
setting all
stream,
this
actually,
up.
compared to a lot of what we've done in the past. So thank you for putting all the architecture in place. And again, it's just been an honor and privilege to work on the Derby series, and I hope you guys enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
We
Thank you,
certainly
man.
did. All right, take care. Great job, guys.
Great job. It was a pleasure.
Take care.
All right, congrats again for great games, Chef, and hope we get to play them again sometime.
Absolutely, man. Congratulations. Have fun
Thank
there.
you. All the best to you. All right, good night, guys.
Good night.
Later. Good night.